Hello and welcome to The Binge Thinker, episode 62. My name is Jamil Raymond. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here as always. On this week's episode, we continue to part 5 of my $30 million tech sales course for you, absolutely free, dear listener. A bit of an update from my end before we kick this thing off. Some fantastic news. I can happily say now that I have won yet another massive deal at Cisco. Probably one of my biggest deals ever to date. This will now put me on somewhere around the 260% mark for my target. So I am pretty much a sure thing, or pretty close to a sure thing, to being in the top 1% of sellers inside Cisco for this financial year, which is a pretty crazy thing to say. That based on what's happening now is I got this massive deal that came in last Friday, which is worth 150% of my target, whilst I've already hit my number for the year. I've hit my sales number last month and was just waiting for other deals to come in. So they're all just commission based. So what happens in Cisco is that if you hit your number for the half or for the year, you get accelerators past 100%, and it's 4.25 to 1 commission. So I was getting quadruple commissions up to 130%. I was already going to finish on 150% or around that without this deal coming in. So with all things going well, I should finish my first full year at Cisco at somewhere around the 270 to 290 mark, maybe even 300% the target. What does that achieve for me? Well, basically what happens is they have different degrees of remuneration and reward and recognition for top salespeople. So if you're in the top 10% of salespeople globally, you get recognized as sales champion if you're in the top 10%, and that's based on a percentage of your achievement to target. Rank stacked against the whole organization, 20, 30,000 sellers strong or something like that. And then if you are in the elite, in the top of the top 1% globally, you get admitted into Chairman's Club, which is exclusively for the top 1% sellers globally. Around, I think they do top 150 to top 200, top 150 to 200 people all around the globe get to congregate together in Hawaii to meet with the Cisco senior leadership team. It's an all expenses, premium paid trip. It's the best of the best. It's a luxury escape for you and somebody else. From what I've heard, it's an absolutely amazing experience. But the most important thing for me is being recognized in the top 1%. In the top 1% of salespeople at Cisco, one of the first big tech companies, an organization that's worth to $220 billion. And I am very likely going to finish in the top 1%. Now it's been extremely hard for me to process how beautifully that is tied in with what the fuck I am doing here, right? If I could not tell you any more, I know this shit works. And that's why I haven't given up, and I won't shut the fuck up about it, because I'll let the numbers speak. If all goes well, I will have made the perfect 10, the top prize that's available in my business segment at Cisco in the virtual sales team. I'll have made it 3 out of the 4 times that it's been available to me. I will have become, and then in my first year, got the 3 highest prizes that I could inside Cisco, or the highest prize I could in my business 3 times, which is the perfect 10, and then go into the Chairman's Club, which is the top sales recognition in the company. So, just to put the massive cherry on top on a very successful career in tech sales that I've had, an absolute blessing. Motherfuckers, pay attention, because this shit speaks for itself, right? I can't believe I'm having this kind of year. It's an absolute beautiful miracle, but it comes with hard work and it comes with knowing things that others don't. And, I've talked about this for ages and people wouldn't necessarily listen to me, or the people that did, I'm grateful for, people that have learned from me, but leadership, all that sort of stuff, I've got to go out there on my own and sing my own song, because if I put this level of effort into a corporation and make them millions of dollars and I get a fraction of that, imagine what I could do with this to the scale of the planet. And that's been the mission for building this. So, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention, because I am going to give you everything I know in this course in one place for you to get similar, if not better, records. I am excited for what this work will put out, what this work will do for other people. And I want people to be better than me in this. I want people to go out there and fucking smash it with this knowledge, right? I'm not here to sit king of the castle. I'm here to give this to you. I can show you what this knowledge does if applied properly. And I cannot wait to see how this is applied, how you take this into the world and make it your own. It's fucking exciting stuff, and it's exciting times for me, and it's a huge step in the right direction. And just knowing that, I was meant to be doing this for some strange reason. Anyway, now you know. I cannot say any more how much this legitimizes what the fuck I'm talking about. So let's get stuck into it, shall we? All right, let's kick it off. So, part 5. I was actually surprised that this is part 5. I just sort of, not wing it, but yeah, I'm just sort of like, I've got so much going on. I'm just sort of like putting this out there as a bit of a brain dump, as you guys know. So yeah, fucking halfway through. I mean, I've committed to I said 10 years and 10 hours. It's not going to be 10 hours, folks. This course is not going to be 10 hours long. It's probably going to be closer to 15 or 20. But again, I want this to be as impactful as possible. The 10 hours, hang around longer, you lazy fucks. If you think you're going to make 6 figures just by listening to this in 10 hours, no. You've got to apply this stuff, but it's got to be conveniently and densely packed into as much value as possible, right? Anyway, I've been rambling, but I'm excited. Let's kick things off. Part 5, what are we talking about? We're going to start wading into customer experience, okay? What I've decided to do is really talk about the underlying theories and practices in this version that you'll see on this online version, the way I'm talking to you guys now, because realistically, I don't want to give you guys exercises, and I don't know if telling you the how to do stuff is necessarily helpful or not. If you think it's going to be helpful, if you're a tech salesperson out there or someone that's early in career that wants a few tips and tricks based on what you're getting out here, DM me. If you do think it is useful or reasonable, hit me up, reach out in the DMs, email me, whatever you like. So we're just going to keep talking about theories and experiences that I've had that are relevant to the journey, which you guys will be useful for you guys. Okay? So talking about customer experience. This is week 5, hour 5. So customer experience, it really is everything, right? People don't really forget. There's a great saying somewhere that I can't remember who said it or attributed to, but people remember how you make them feel, right? It's not about what people say. People remember how you make them feel. We are so sensitive to the emotions and the reactions we get from others. And this is what I talked about in earlier episodes, right? It's about eliciting logic and emotion, primarily emotion, muddled in with a bit of logic if you're good at it, and being able to align yourself energetically and intellectually with your customers and help them understand, make them feel psychologically safe that they're making the right decision with you as a salesperson, okay? So customer experience has been my specialty. Being good with people, solving their problems, looking after them. That's my inherent nature. I am someone that is nurturing and looking after of people. So this is where my natural gift for things and aptitude has come in. And this is why I say it's important to be a great people person in tech, is because you're developing your people skills and you learn how to look after people, and by creating that value in ways that aren't monetary, you can convert that value into money which again, by being in the trusted relationship, protecting your sales margins, protecting making conversations easier with your customers by breaking into their trusted network and be positioning yourself as the trusted technology advisor to them. And that's that's the key position here. So to open up this hour or this lecture, we're talking about positioning first and foremost. Okay, positioning. That is something that's said in sales circles. If you're in real estate, which I hope you're not, or maybe I hope you are, and you're going from real estate and being a flog into technology sales and actually making a difference to people, that would be great. But you might have heard location, right? It's about where you are, right? Where your position, your perception from the perspective of the customer, right? You need to position yourself as authoritative, safe, intellectual, competent, right? Remember, when customers are spending with you, right, they think of the cost associated, they think of the risk involved, of things going wrong. This is the subconscious that is operating in their minds when they're having these conversations with you. Every time we put ourselves out there for some reason or other, we are putting ourselves at risk. We want to mitigate that risk as much as we can. So what do? We seek safe sources of information and insight to make our problem go away or solve our problem with as minimal risk as possible, okay? And unfortunately in business and anywhere we go, we can't solve all of our own problems. We have to buy things from other people. So when we've got this, when we're in this situation and a customer has to go out to market and procure something, they rely on the safest brands, usually, right? Why? Because they are positioned as what we've just talked about before. They're competent. They've solved the problem before. It's what they're in business to do, so they presume that they're good at it. But even though the product is good, it's only as good as it's communicated and implemented into an ecosystem or into an environment. So they have to speak to people like us as salespeople to, as the coal face to create those interactions, to solve that problem for them. So, to take this back a little bit, positioning is so important because of, I guess, the underlying principle behind that, which is perception is reality, okay? Whatever your customer believes, they think they're right? Whatever you believe in general, you are right. Your brain will find ways to reinforce your belief system in what you seek out. If they're smart enough to go, okay, I don't know everything, let me hear in the market about what's useful, why it's worked, what's worked and why, great. But in general, when we are out, when you have to reinforce the reality and the perspective of your customer and reinforce the perceptions of what they believe to get on that same wavelength as them. Sometimes you have to challenge them, right? The customer isn't always right. And it's up to you as a salesperson to add value by giving them a different perspective on what they're thinking and talking about, with facts, with insight that, can replace what they've understood. And if you do that, that creates immense value, right? There's not a price associated with that. Education, authority, that is all the intangibles that we can't define values to monetarily, but they are valuable to the customer, right? And that value, again, is leveraged in positioning. If you come up, so I take a backward step with this because I'm sort of all over the shop. When you have to position yourself to customers as someone that is trustworthy, that is competent, that has authority and expertise in what they're doing and why, right? Because, like we said before, we need that safety. Customers would love to make a safe, simple decision for all this stuff and then get on with the rest of their day, okay? And one of the things that we teach and what I reinforce in the Tech Sales Academy and what I want to create as a result of this course is trusted technology advisors, because that is the ideal positioning that you want inside an organization, inside your customer's organization. You can't really get better than that from the outside to be a trusted technology advisor. And that's something that I've been saying for the last few years. And, you know, it breaks down pretty simply, right? Trusted. They have to trust you. They have to develop a relationship where you can communicate openly and honestly with your customer, and they will take your word on without the idea that you're trying to fucking sell them some shit or just trying to bullshit them for the sake of $1, right? Just like hackers try and break into trusted data networks all the time, hackers are trying to break into your trusted, secure networks and take your data and take something from you. We are doing the same thing from the outside in as salespeople, but we are not trying to take from them. We are there to exchange value, right? And we are there to provide net positive value to that ecosystem and contribute to it instead of trying to take something away from it and hold them to ransom. That's just bad business, okay? So that's trusted. You've got, once you're in, just like when we talk about trust and an analogy of networks and people networks, human networks versus computer networks, right? The idea is to be inside the trusted ecosystem, right? And there are different variations of that. If you've got a login and you've got credentials to the network, you're still on the outside and you're still going to have that exchange system between them. There's still some barriers in the way. You might be considered a transactional partner, right? If you're just some fuckwit that's trying to bombard the customer with emails and calls and they don't want to talk to you, right? Then you're just spam. And they're going to have their firewalls and their defenses up and go, who the fuck is this guy that keeps pestering me when I don't want to speak to him, right? And that's the old school way of, just making tons of cold calls and all that sort of shit. But then if you get into the trusted ecosystem, you're sharing the resources. There's no barriers to the conversations and the type of engagements that you have with people. We talked about last week, why is it important to become a trusted technology advisor? For a litany of reasons, right? Negotiations become conversations, vendors become partners, salespeople become trusted technology advisors, right? It makes the conversations easier. You are building together, and that is the ideal position you want to get in with your customers. You need to be seen as trying to build something and help build with them, not just sell them a product for a product's sake. Okay, so that's the trust part. Very, very important. Can you do business without trust? Yes, but it's way more difficult to do so. It's impersonal, right? To take that analogy further about the trusted network, you might be in an RFP, a requesting for pricing, where a customer has to go out to market and they put a tender out and people have to put responses in. And it's very down the line, that's very dot pointed and very particular about how you respond and what your solution does. And that removes the warmth and that becomes a very dry process where it's very difficult for you to differentiate because there's no emotional association with what you do. There's no warmth. It's very hard to differentiate because it has to be very stale, okay? So that's when it's trustless, or when someone buys from you because they know the brand but not you as the salesperson, and that positioning changes as well. So trust, number one. Technology speaks for itself, right? We're selling tech here. Ideally, with this positioning, what I used to love to tell customers, and still do, is come to me with any dumb question related to tech. When I was at Telstra for ages, because we covered so many solutions and I had so much reach into the vendor ecosystem, into partners, I could basically procure almost anything under the sun that was related to tech and have a conversation with the customer. So you, as part of this positioning, right, you want them to come to you for anything technology related, good or bad, silly or unsilly. The idea is to have the mind share, is to be the first person they think of or someone that's in the Rolodex of people that they can trust and have a conversation about and just shoot the shit with without thinking there's a sniff of a deal, right? I had a conversation literally today with a customer that I had sold some data center stuff to 6 months ago. We built a good relationship. I looked after him and he goes, hey, I want to talk about Meraki next, right? He came to me. I'm not even the account manager. I'm the specialist. He should be talking to this account manager about this, not me. But that's the strength of our relationship because he goes, hey, I have a good relationship with this guy. We don't play the bullshit game. He'll give me some truth. Let me talk to him. I want to do this business now. And I said, awesome. That's great. I'm not the guy that's responsible for it, but let's have a chat. I used to sell it, right? And what that does, again, you need to reward and appreciate that they are coming to you as that advisor, the trusted technology advisor. Hey, I want to do this business now with you, right? That's the sign of a good job, is that they're going, hey, we did this, now let's do this together. And what I tell them, it's the exact same thing. I layered that trust even more. I said, look, I'll answer as much as I can, pick my brain. I used to sell it, and I'll take my sales hat off and I'll help you because I don't have a financial, I don't get paid on Meraki is the easiest way to put that. So I have no skin in this game. And so I'm happy to just give you honest, direct feedback because that is more valuable to me in the relationship than any monetary value because I'm there to reinforce a positive relationship, okay? Because that is worth more than money. That's what I'm trying to teach you here, is that your relationships in this game, your personal brand is way more important than getting $1 from someone today if they're gonna hate you tomorrow. It never fucking works. That's when you become scarce in your mindset, and that's when you start to run out of people to buy from and shit goes wrong. And I know people in the game that have been like that are just there for the win. They want the quick win now, they want the now. But the well dries up and the sentiment dries up from the customer because they had a shitty experience because they needed it from that person. But they were like, this guy treated me like shit. I'm going to go somewhere for the next piece of work, right? So I had the conversation with him literally today. I gave him as much as I knew, gave him the inside goss because people love to know that they're getting something that they shouldn't, right? People love that, psst, give me up. Right? Let me do something weird. Let me, treat him special, look after him. And I did, right? I legitimately did. Because I know people like that stuff. Again, it builds trust. And then I had a conversation with him. I got him to a point, told him as much as I could. And then I said, let me refer to the expert. He's a good guy, right? I deliberately built up the other salesperson that's actually responsible for this deal to palm it off warmly to them because it's called the halo effect. Okay, and we'll talk about this later on. The halo effect is this guy comes to me because I'm a good guy and I look after him and we've done business together. And he values what I say, so I'm in the trusted network. What the halo effect is like when you've got a fantastic core product, you're supposed to leverage that brand onto other products inside your portfolio of solutions and leverage the goodwill that you've created. And what do I mean by that? So I go, let's just talk about Cisco for an example. And this is a great example. Cisco is known for networking equipment, switches, routers, etc. So that's their core business. They're very good at that. They're the world's most trusted brand for that stuff. And if you're a good account manager, your portfolio is 80 to 90% product penetration of that because it's the core business. That's why people come to you in the first place. But when you expand your share of wallet, the best way to expand that share of wallet is to use the goodwill that you've generated as an account team, as the great product, and you shine that on the next product that you want to talk to them about, right? So a way of talking about this is like, for example, from Cisco's perspective is the world's most trusted networking brand just created data center servers, right? So you're leveraging all of the goodwill, all the perception that customers know and the association have with Cisco and the networking and putting on a different product. And then they go, oh, cool. You guys are going to do this just as well, right? And so by doing that, not with the product itself, but with the salesperson that they're going to speak to, I'm leveraging my good relationship to pass it on to the next guy so they have a better conversation, and then he breaks into the trusted technology ecosystem. Okay? And I do this a lot with you have to back your team in and go, he's a good guy, he'll look after you. Right? And so I did that. I told my customer, here's as much as I can do for you. Let me introduce you to him. He's a good bloke. He knows more things than I do. He'll be able to answer all the questions. You've just picked my brain for whatever I've got. And he goes, great. So I go to this other specialist from Meraki and I go, hey mate, let me introduce you to the customer. This is how he likes to be looked after, right? This is how he's going to deal with you, but don't bullshit him, right? I gave him the 101 on how to deal with this customer, to build the relationship fast and get the deal done quickly. Because I know that he wants to do business with people he trusts. We all do, right? So I'm leveraging, using the halo effect onto the other salesperson to build that relationship up. Okay? That is because I am positioned with this customer as a trusted technology advisor. Right? Let's focus on that advisor part. I told him to pick my brain. I gave him advice with no expectation of something in return. I'm giving advice. It is freely given, not there to just like be like, it's like when you go out on a date and for some stupid reason men think that women are expected to put out because they bought dinner. No, you are freely giving your time, your money, your resources without expectation to see how the exchange with the other person goes, right? So very similarly, you've got to be generous with advice, with insight, with knowledge as best your ability without the agenda of getting something back in return, because again, we are about building value over price. And trust, advice, and insight, and that expertise with the technology, that is more valuable than the dollar cost. Right? And to take this back again to the example we talked about last week, with that hierarchy of commitment, right? If you are good energy because they're trustworthy, if they're saving you time, that because you're giving them direct advice, they don't have to go shopping around, right? And that, again, that trust is so fucking valuable. It's good energy, right? Good, secure energy. Both of those are above money, right? Money, time, energy, identity. So being good with your energy, saving your customer time, right? Reinforcing that identity, right? Of going, hey, let me make this as easy for you as I can as an IT manager to make this transition to the new technology by giving you the insight, teaching you how it's going to ramp up, what the migration plan would look like, what the features are, all in one place, really simple. You look like the good guy, solve the problems, bang, identity, right? All of that more valuable than money. Customers love that, they'll spend with you, right? I've had one conversation with this customer and it's not even my product. And I am like 80 to 90% certain they'll buy. Whenever that is, I don't know. But just by leveraging the relationship that I already had, adding that halo effect, creating a trusted network into somebody else that can do that stuff for them, really execute the deal and finalize it, there we go. That's how easy, I've just made that sale much easier for the next guy, right? And then expanding that trusted technology advisor network. All because over time, when I was dealing with this customer, selling them their data center solution, I said, you got questions, you come to me, I'll solve your problems, right? I'm not gonna bullshit you about what the technology does. I'm not gonna bullshit you on the price. I'm gonna give you a great price. This is the deal. Well, let's not do the dance, right? This is all building that positioning and trust. Position over time. I gave you a solution that works, it ticks your boxes, great. I've done the basic job. I gave you a bit more insight that most other people won't give you, that's more valuable than the shitty exchange you might have with other salespeople that are just there for the target and for the number. Valuable, right? This guy sees me as someone that is going to look after him and not bullshit with the price. Extremely valuable. And now I'm positioned so well that he's going, hey, how do I buy more stuff off you? That's cool shit, right? That's why it's important to be positioned this way. So one of the One of the other things we'll talk about in general relationship management is warmth, right? Warmth is a critical part of positioning, right? We talk about, people that are cold, people that are warm all the time. For example, cold calling. You've got no relationship to the customer. You're just sort of fucking hoping that this customer has a need that you can solve pretty quickly with a cold call, right? Warm calling, hot, we get the sentiment behind it. If a deal is hot, it is going to move right now. Things are going to happen. If the deal is cooling off, the momentum is gone, right? So you understand that cold versus hot. So the warmth is in positioning. Who is the customer most receptive to hear about the solution, the product, whatever it is? And it's a critical part of your sales process and your positioning to understand that and understand who is the best person in that customer's ecosystem to receive the message or the information from. Who's got the best relationship? Who is the warmest to the customer? Who is the most receptive? Who are they the most receptive to? Who is the most trustworthy? Who have they got the least barriers to? Who's got the least bullshit detector on when they speak to them? And understanding who that is in any sales process is very important, and it's a great way to create leverage in closing a deal faster. I'll give you an example around that. In the sales game, in the tech sales game, particularly in the mid-market segment where I've spent most of my time, mid-market to lower enterprise. One of the disconnects in the sales process is the high turnover of staff in vendors, in particularly, versus partners who are the integrated, the service integrators, the resellers, okay? And the reason that there's such a high turnover of staff in the mid-market just mid-market enterprise business is because vendors will often the managing of those customers is often an entry-level role into tech sales, right? So you get a lot of fresh faces in there that want to smash their number for 1 or 2 years and look for a promotion to go, get a better role, go into the field instead of being behind a desk or virtual or whatever that might be. So customers are attuned to breaking their relationship with their account manager every 2 to 3 years, right? And then also a lot of organizations will just shuffle the deck of the portfolio to balance them out for business purposes, i.e. making sure account managers or portfolios are relatively balanced based on how much revenue there is per portfolio. Okay, so sometimes they've got to shift customers around to make it more fair and balanced. But so that breaks relationships quite often. And customers that have been around for a while, have had long-standing relationships with ongoing vendors, they're used to this game because it's not just happening in one vendor, it's happening in basically all of them, right? That they get given these kids that are in entry-level roles that want to make their way up. So they're used to having to reintroduce themselves and all this sort of bullshit. Whereas we're in the partner ecosystem, these are usually companies that are much smaller. Some of them are small businesses that have got people in them that have been there 10, 15 years because they're just happy to be the sales guy and just manage their portfolio of customers. And they've accumulated a good portfolio of customers where they know the relationships well, and there's not this shift in customers they have to manage. You just accumulate them over time. So that accumulation gets you to a point where you can, if you're smart with your customer base, build a relationship long-term because you've been there 7, 8 years, 10 years. I've known guys in roles that have been there like 15 years, right? Some 20. And then they've got these good relationships with the customers, and they kind of deposition the vendor from a perspective and go, look, you know what it's like in there. It's a bit of a mess. There's always new guys. We'll just do the relationship and get the vendor involved when we need to. So since they've got the relationship with their customer and they've been there for longer, there's no need to rock the boat and try and build a relationship with a customer if the partner already owns them, right? The ownership, they've got the relationship, we don't, because they're going, I know that it's not worth dealing with you because you're going to be gone in 18 months. I'd rather deal with the guy that's known me for 15 years. I know his kids, he knows my family, that sort of stuff, right? So that warmth, that's the trusted network, right? That's the connection, the trusted technology advisor in that ecosystem. So there's no point in me trying to build that relationship unless I'm reinforcing the trusted technology advisor or just supporting the partner that has that relationship, because I'm just saving myself the effort of just going, all right, I'll support you, partner. You want a deal. You've got the ear of the customer. Let me help you win the deal. I'm not going to sell around you. I'm going to reinforce you or work in tandem with you to support the deal. And that just makes good sense instead of trying to sell twice when the customer doesn't really believe who you are and thinks you're full of shit, and he's hearing a similar message from the guy that he's known for 15 years. So that's warmth. And that's another degree of positioning, understanding your relative positioning in a customer's ecosystem from their perspective, right? You've always got to be putting yourself in the customer's shoes. One of the, Gary Vee says this shit, but it is a secret superpower. Empathy is a secret superpower in business. Because if you put yourself in the customer's shoes and you understand where they're at and where their challenges are, any step you make to help them get that step further safely, they appreciate that. Right? I hate being fucking sold to. So when someone is honest with me about a product or a solution or a process, I'm good. I appreciate that, right? Because I fucking hate being sold to. And so do most people. They hate being sold to. They don't want the bullshit. They want the facts. Is this going to solve my problem? How does it solve my problem? How quickly can it happen? So, yeah, generating that warmth, that trust, that positioning. Once you've got that, man, if you've got 3 or 4 good paying customers that you're positioned with, that are high revenue business customers in your portfolio, you're pretty much set for sales, right? If you are well positioned with your top 3 customers, I would say, as a trusted technology advisor in your portfolio, there is probably 50 to 80% of your deals right there if you're in the buying cycle, right? That's how potent this stuff is into achieving and overachieving your number, is to build trusted relationships where the transactions are easy and they will just funnel money through you because it's the safest way to do so to get their problem solved. I had that in the last 2 years at Telstra, where I had my 3 biggest customers. I was working on them all at the same time. It was a lot of work to build those trusts up over those 2 years. Shitload of work. But those 3 customers alone probably did at least 70% of my number for the year. And, on average, I was doing about 130 to 140, right? So if I didn't have them, it would be a lot of trouble. But because I built those relationships and I didn't have to transact and do as much effort because they trusted me and I just had to go through the motions with them, that opened up my selling time to customers where I had to do more of that relationship development work so they could build that trust enough for them to buy from me. But if I didn't have my 3 biggest customers on my side and reducing the amount of time that it takes to sell and go through that sales motion, I don't know if I would have made my number all those years or not, right? So very important, extremely important, the way you are positioned in a business. And that applies internally and externally as well. But we'll talk about internal branding and stuff like that later. It's more of a career advice thing. So positioning, extremely important. Number 1, position, position, position. And then we talked about, perception is reality. If the customer believes you to be trustworthy, then you're in. And that's the hard work done. That's the hardest part of a sales process done, is building that trust and building that perception up. So how do I help you build positioning, and how do I help you change the perception of what customers think of you as soon as possible? Well, there's a couple of tools to do this, right? I think last week we talked about the trust formula. The trust formula is something that was introduced to me by Seth Godin. Talked about this last week, I'm pretty sure, where this is the formula that's used in advertising to develop brand trust and brand equity, right? What is trust? It is frequency plus familiarity. And how does that work? You see an ad, you're like, when you watch a TV show and you go, why are they using the same ad like 7 times in an hour TV show? Because they are showing up, right? They are frequent in the way they show up with you, and they are creating familiarity with their brand positioning, right? I'll give you another perfect example. Apple. Every time they release a phone, it's their best phone yet, right? They are reinforcing that message over and over again. They show up in all their ads. The ads are simplistic, minimal, fun, intriguing, and they're saying we're the best one yet. This is the best phone yet. And from iPhone 5 to now iPhone 15, over a decade of innovation later, we still believe it. We're still excited by it because they have built that trust in that they are backing up what they're saying is that they're making the best devices they've ever made over and over again, which is true, right? So living up to that promise is extremely important. So how do we leverage this trust formula in sales, right? We need to blur the lines and not dismiss sales and marketing as 2 different functions, right? Marketing does 80% of the pre-work before a sale takes the last 20%. But that 20%, extremely important, right? So when we talk about this, you have to think like a marketer. You have to think of yourself as a brand, okay? So, yeah, I'll put the trust formula and then we'll talk about brand. Yep, okay. Sorry, this is why we do drafts, right? Because I'm not completely fully formed, but let's figure this out. You are a brand, right? Whether you like it or not, you are a brand. You have a brand, you have a personal brand internally, externally to everyone inside your life. What is that brand? It's the perception that people have of you. Is it true? Probably not what that brand is, but that brand is a result of how frequently you've shown up in these people's lives and the information you've provided in those communications to see how familiar they are with you, right? Your parents would know who you are. It's a different brand. They're extremely familiar with you. They created you. They see themselves in you, right? So they know how to trust how you'll operate, extremely familiar. Acquaintances, they don't know you, but from the limited information they have about you, okay? Your personal brand inside an organization, extremely important. Your personal brand in the field, outside to customers, to the outside world, extremely important, right? Because that's how we create this leverage. This brand is what we have to manipulate to increase your positioning, right? This is brand building with positioning. So how do we use this personal brand with the trust formula? Well, if you are early in career or you are early in a customer relationship, maybe this is a perfect time. You've had a new customer, you've got a new portfolio, particularly in Australia. July 1st has just occurred. So you've got a new sales portfolio of customers. They've had their shuffle, maybe it's your first time going in there. So what you do is you show up frequently to the customer and add value with every engagement you do, right? From the first meeting you have with them, you create a great first impression, you get an understanding of where the current state and the current perception of the customer is to your brand, not your personal brand. You develop that in the first meeting, but the brand, the relationship they had with their previous account manager, what they think of the organization. Are there any unresolved problems or issues? What's the next steps? And you have to get a feel for the sentiment of the customer. and how they feel about the brand. And then from that point of sentiment is your ability to create additional value by understanding the hop-off point of where they're at and building on that. So if they've had a great experience with their previous account manager, for example, or they love your product, you know that you've just got to keep them happy by showing up and providing the value that they enjoy. And you ask them that in the first meeting as well. You go, what did you love about the previous account team? What could we have done better? You take a note of that and you make sure that you do that shit for them, right? To keep that relationship going. If you've got a cold customer, if there's no warmth, and they're like, who's this fucking guy? Another idiot that's, another fresh-faced kid that's gonna fuck off in 18 months. I have to deal with this guy again. You have an opportunity to differentiate yourself and build trust using this formula, right? They might not like you at first, but if they give you some feedback as how you can improve their experience and you meet those expectations by showing up with that value over and over and over again, you build the Pavlovian response and you leverage that trust formula for them to go, hey, this guy keeps showing up with stuff that I find useful. He seems valuable. He seems useful to have in my pocket or to engage with. Let me deal with this guy because he's giving me what I want. And that is the trust formula in action. You show up and you add value to every interaction so they, like Pavlov's dog, you might have heard, almost salivate at the idea of dealing with you, right? You get that Pavlovian response of, hey, this guy's going to show up. He's going to solve a problem for me. He's going to take care of this. He's going to make me feel better, right? And that's how you build relationships. You can use that anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be about technology sales. Any relationship that you have, personal, professional, that trust formula works. You need to just show up, add value. That's what people think about you. That's your brand that's being developed as this guy that is useful and valuable, and it works in your favor. And that's more valuable than any of the money that you're gonna make from the customer, right? Because that increases and skyrockets your lifetime value from the customer, right? It's not just this one deal for now and fuck them off later. You can get deal after deal after deal depending on how long and how much time you've got with them. And sometimes if you go into a different business, remember your reputation carries with you, right? It's your most important asset. If you take your brand everywhere, you might even do business with them in a different life down the line, right? So building that, using trust to build positioning and to change the perceptions of your customer is an extremely powerful tool in relationship and portfolio-based selling. Because that's what you're there for. Account managers think they're there to sell shit to people. No, you're there to look after them and create an environment where they feel safe and have a great experience, that are happy to exchange money, exchange their money for your services. That is the core function, or one of the core functions of a good account manager. And the best way to do that is to be positioned with your customers as someone that is trustworthy and it can advise them for nothing, with no agenda, about technology to solve their technology problems. It's worked time and time again. Okay? Another aspect of let me take a second here. Okay, so we talked about perception and reality, right? So perception is reality. So how do we break down the perceptive process? What is perception? How do customers formulate their perceptions? Or how does anyone, really, let's take the customer out of this. How does anyone create a perception to things, right? I've broken this down on my podcast ages ago, but the perception process goes like this. To formulate a perception, you have to go through the process of attention, information, cognition, perception, right? So how this works is step one, attention. Where is your attention going, right? Your eyes, your senses, they're like a vacuum, right? Your attention is a vacuum that sucks in information from the outside world all day, every day, right? Whether it be books you read, talking to people, being outside in the sun, scrolling on your phone incessantly for hours, right? The modern economy is a war for your attention, right? It's so important, your attention, because this, literally, you are a machine, an instant processing machine. And your attention turns into things. Whatever you pay attention to will convert into actions at some point, right? That's what advertisers understand. That's why they bombard you with ads. That's why they buy and steal your attention from media companies and with ads, because they know that attention is the currency. Attention is the new oil, just like data, right? Social media networks don't compete with really other social media networks. They do, but they don't. They mainly compete with other forms of entertainment, sport, the arts, right? Because that's the other pleasurable things that your body wants to, and you as an individual want to pay attention to. But if you're paying attention to the outside world, you're not paying attention to your phone, where all their ads are, which is where they make all their money. Okay? So with attention, you're sucking in all this information, right? Your perception is like a vacuum. You're sucking in information. You know, you're looking around, you're hearing me right now, that's information. You look around you, there's a wall, there's items that you're taking in the information of the outside world around you. Okay? So the quality of that information is also extremely important, right? That you are giving in good information whilst they've got your attention. With this attention, right? So with this information, it goes into our brains where it gets processed by our operating systems of beliefs, right? These cognitive beliefs that we have formed in our heads about what we should do with this information, right? For example, you look at a fire. Cognitively, you paid attention to the fire, right? The information, that is a fire. That goes into your brain. Fire, hot. Okay. Fire, warm. Good. Okay. Cognition, and then perception is, okay, let's stay away from this, but let's, if we want to get warm, let's get close to it. Okay? So that's the full cycle. Attention, information, cognition, perception. So modifying those behaviors in the perceptive process is one of the things that you are doing as a good marketer, as a good salesperson, as a good account manager, right? So you need to be present in and know how to leverage every step of that way to build your perceptions over time and, work them in your favor. And so that's why it's important. So I'm going to break this down. So let me break down the functions that I teach inside the course and the strategies and the tactics you should use at every step of that way in the perceptive process to increase your positioning to a customer. Okay? So attention, customers' attention, very important. Right? Without attention, we have nothing. If they don't know who we are, if they don't understand what we do, what our brand is, all of that stuff, we're fucked. We're out of the game. We don't exist. So you have to have their attention. You want to be top of mind, ideally. That's what's so strong about the Trusted Technology Advisor. You are top of mind. You are one of the first people that the customer wants to pick up the phone and speak to about solving their problem, right? So you need to build mind share. All right, that's a term that's used frequently in sales, mind share. Are we top of mind for the customer? Are we the first people that they want to speak to solve their problems, right? Mind share. So the trust formula builds this and manipulates this aspect of the attention and the information part, right? The trust formula works in those early aspects of attention and information because you are showing up, right? You are getting the customer's attention and you are providing them quality information, okay? You are giving them good information, useful stuff, solving their problems, asking, getting their questions resolved, making sure they are safe and comprehending and are okay with what they understand your product, your solution to be, even who you are, right? If there's not even a thing to sell yet, you are brand building. You are perception building with this process by showing up, solving their problems, asking questions, adding value. Okay? Another part of this is that attention is, again, proximity. You need to be close to the customer. Sales is a contact sport. This is something we talked about last week. So being in the customer's face, not forcefully, intentfully, with adding value, right? This is why I say, and I'll talk about this maybe in the next episode, servicing is selling. Servicing is selling. What does that mean? It means that when you look after a customer, when you solve all the shitty administrative problems that they've got inside the organization, all the little annoying little frictiony things with dealing with you and doing account servicing, making sure the bills are going to the right people, they're paid on time, any disputes are resolved. You've made the exchange in dealing with you really useful. Servicing, that is a great way to build the trust formula, and it's a great way to leverage the trust formula to build attention and information to change the cognition and perception of your organization. When a customer hates your organization but has to deal with you, that is a fantastic opportunity to turn things around and make them great advocates of your brand and your company. I have done this countless times with customers, because servicing them is selling, right? Looking after the problems, following up on all those little shitty things that you have to do for a customer, right? All those little nitpicky things. It displays your competence. It displays how much you're listening, how much you're looking after them. It builds that trust. They go, hey, this guy is solving my problems, and these problems have been around for fucking ages. What else does this guy know? Finally, I can do some shit that I want to do, but these guys are fucking idiots. But now I've got this guy who knows how to solve my problems and knows how to look after me. I want to deal with him. And what I'll talk about in the course, one of my biggest customers had $1 million in age debt, had like 3 account managers that couldn't solve it. It was an absolute clusterfuck of an account that was in the too hard basket for years. I'm talking 5 years it was in the too hard basket for most account managers. And through a shitload of work, I solved that debt. I got that account clean, and they reinvested their entire account worth, over $3 million worth of revenue, and then some in the 2 years that I dealt with them, right? I took them from $1 million of aged and disputed debt into them. And you would think, if you're going, these guys are so incompetent that they can't even get $1 million right, why would I deal with this organization? To then going, you know what? Finally, we can transact with this organization, we can invest, solve problems solved, right? Because I displayed the competence and the tenacity to look after them and solve the problem and speak to them and empathize with them, eventually they go, this guy is trustworthy, I'll go to him, right? And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. And it's, again, another of the reasons why I'm fucking the top 1% and why I'm doing this course is because I've done things in accounts that people don't recognize as valuable, except for me, but I know how useful they are in relationship development and management, not just in technology, but anywhere, because it's all people skills, right? That was a bit of a sideline, but it's a great point about where servicing is selling that leads into building the trust formula, because you have a pain to take away from them, right? If you're, I think about the line with the thorn in its paw, right? If you've been sitting with this splinter, right? If you've got a splinter in your hand and it's been there for ages, it's this constant irritation, this dull ache, and people have been picking at it just to try and get it out there, but you're making it worse, and it's just fucking, it's been so long, get this thing out of me, it's just constantly annoying me. And then you, as the account manager that takes the time to carefully pull it out and resolve that problem, how grateful is someone going to be to you to fucking, for solving that problem for them, for reducing that pain, taking it away from them, right? And that comes into another aspect of customer service that we'll talk about, which is the law of reciprocation, right? Do I have time to talk about this? I might as well just talk about it all now since I'm here, right? I'll talk about it more next week because it bears repeating. The law of reciprocation. There are very few laws that truly exist in the world, in the universe. The only true laws are the laws of physics that we understand. Everything else is just perceptions and just bullshit we make up by society, right? Now, this law, this isn't by physics, but you will understand exactly what I mean. It's karma, it's goodwill, it's you get what you give, right? It's the law of reciprocation. And what this means is we as a species naturally want to restore order and balance in our own perceptive worlds. And when someone's been so good to you, right, hang on, let's take this back. When we generate so much value for someone, which is what we try and do in sales, is to generate as much value as we can so it makes it a no-brainer that they want to buy. That reciprocatory part is, oh my God, there's all this value I must give to receive, right? That's the reciprocative aspect of that. We naturally want to make good with people. When people are good to us, we want to be good to them. We want to give back. That's why we love to do charity, or everyone loves to be charitable and give and, be that sort of person. It's built into our culture, particularly in the Western world, more in the US, but tipping is the perfect example of the law of reciprocation. You give people, your servers, money for good service, and if they've done a fantastic job, they've looked after you, you've had a good time with them, you want to give them a little bit more, right? You want to encourage that. You can walk past a busker on the street and they're playing your favorite song. You go, great, that makes me feel really good. I'm going to give back. I'm going to give that guy $5 instead of some change for playing my favorite song. Amazing. Thank you so much. That law can be leveraged. And you don't have to do it in this insidious way that you must, give so much that you get something out of it. It's just knowing that the law will, like physics in a way, you put enough weight on the value side of stuff. Let's just say it's the price versus value seesaw. And the price, it's all value and it's all price and no value. So the value part is off. I don't know how to put this properly, but this is why we figure this shit out. Essentially, where am I going with this? I think I fucked this up. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you develop as much, the law of reciprocation is trusting that if you build enough value in a conversation, in an engagement with a customer, and you build so much that they don't worry about the price as much, that tipping point, that seesaw is the law of reciprocation, right? That's the axis on which we operate on, and that you leverage that every day and use that law to your advantage. Just like engineers and rocket scientists leverage the laws of physics to send rockets to the moon or build skyscrapers, they understand the laws of physics and nature and leverage them and do really cool shit with them. We can do the same in sales. One of those laws is the law of reciprocation, right? When you create so much value for a customer, they want to invest because the value is so good. I think I've banged on about that enough. But that's one of the core laws and the reasons why good account management, servicing and selling, the trust formula all work. They're all intertwined. And I haven't really mapped that out. So that's why I'm doing this, right? Is that those are the key three things. Is that, the trust formula, servicing is selling, and then the right to sell, which we'll talk about in the next episode because that's important as well. Developing the right to sell. Where I was going, oh yeah, we're talking about perception. So let's go back to the perception, right? Perception is reality. How do we leverage attention, information, cognition to change the perceptions of our customers and transform them into trusted technology advisors, or at least perceiving us as trusted technology advisors, okay? So, servicing is selling. That uses frequency, that uses the trust formula to change you're leveraging attention and quality information. Those are the tools that you can leverage to slowly change the cognition, right? The preconceived notions that people have of you, of your brand. That's the old coding, right? That's the software that you're trying to update. You're trying to go from your company version 1 to your company version 2. And what's the version 2 that you're trying to upgrade with? It's good service. It's actually solving your problems. It's listening to you, right? So by leveraging attention, information, you are slowly tipping the scale of perception by changing the cognition, because you are slowly engineering and repiping them to go, as an example, Telstra. God, this Telstra guy fucking sucks. Doesn't listen to me. Hasn't solved this billing issue. I've had it for like 18 months. I've had it the entire time he's there. What the fuck is going on? Then this new guy comes along. That's me. And they go, well, who the fuck is this guy? Right? The last idiot couldn't solve the problem. What's to say that this guy can solve this problem as well? And I go, Mr. Customer, totally understand. Look, I can't make promises. I don't know the last guy, what he did. I can tell you my experience. I used to do years of account service. I understand the systems back to front. These other guys don't. I know what not to do in this business, right? So let me take some time. What do you think about Telstra so far? It sucks. Okay, what can we do to make it better? Well, you can solve my fucking problems. You can make your bills easier to read, and you can do this and this and this. And I go, great. I'm going to write these down. Let's see how many of these we can address over time. And they go, yeah, all right, good luck. That's the current perception. And then over time with the meetings, right? You meet with them. Mr. Customer, I want to just call you, let you know I've solved this problem for you. Mr. Customer, here's that bill. You wanted to make it easier. There it is for you. Mr. Customer, I was thinking about this product that might be good for you, that you were trying to look at. How does this feel, right? Attention, leveraging the attention because they want to deal with you, right? They want their problem solved. They will give you the attention if it's valuable, if it's getting them closer to the problem they're trying to solve. So then that trust formula, over time, they go, hey, every time I deal with this new guy, Jamil, he's solving my problems. This took fucking 18 months to fix, and he fixed it in a couple of weeks. What the fuck? That's great. Oh, he gave me this information. I didn't really know about that. This guy's interesting. Let me speak to this guy a bit more. Maybe we can do this with him. What do you think about this and this and that? Right? And then eventually, through showing up, adding value, the perception of what he thinks about Telstra, or at least me representing Telstra, shifts over time. Okay? And then they go from most of what happens is, and particularly my time in Telstra, is they go, company's fucked, but he's good. He makes all this mess simpler. That was a lot of my feedback in my time at Telstra, was that, yeah, the systems and the processes are fucked, but this guy knew what he was doing, and at least he communicated me with what's going on, the good, the bad, and he solved my problem eventually, and he kept at it. That was the core of my success, was persistence and adding value to as many interactions as I could. That led to me having multiple case studies inside Telstra, $1 million worth of debt into $3 million worth of sales. And then even now, building brand perception, like I just had with this customer today, phone call. This guy didn't know me from a bar of soap 12 months ago. Didn't know me. Tried to play the game with me to begin with. I created trust with him. I played his game to a degree, but differentiated. Built trust, capability, positioned myself over time by showing up, by solving his problem, by giving him information, by making the process to deal with us as an organization easier. He bought. I helped deliver. I solved his problems in the process. And again, now he's coming back, calling me, going, hey, buddy, let's do some more business. What do you got? That's the power of this positioning. That is the power of understanding your perception and positioning yourself as a trusted technology advisor, to go from a guy that was giving me active shit in a good way, right? He's just shaking the tree because this customer, he's been in IT 20, 30 years. He's seen it all. So he's not gonna fall for the bullshit of every new guy that tries to be some slick back fuckwit trying to sell him some new shit. He wants to get to the real stuff. He values honesty and directness, and that's what I gave him. And then he goes, this guy gets it. I trust this guy. Bang. Now I'm positioned as a trusted technology advisor in technologies that I don't even sell. He just thinks of me, the Cisco guy. And I'm not even supposed to be the Cisco guy to him. That's his account manager's role, right? That is the power of this stuff. It is understanding people, understanding how they think, how you can take them further, associating that with you as a relationship manager, as the go-to guy to have mind share, have their attention, and businesses will flourish, your portfolio will flourish, sales will come through, relationships are built, and then maybe in a few fucking years when you get this all right, you'll be smashing out top sales numbers like myself in a few years. That is my hope for you. That is my dream for you, is to take this, I've got it to a great level, take it a step further. That's what we're here to do. Okay? So that's bang on the hour. Again, I don't want to go into any new topics, do I? We've talked about the law of reciprocity. We've talked about the trust formula. Servicing is selling. I probably want to dig into servicing is selling, but that's very particular. I would just say, I'm probably going to do like a specialized module on account management because that was my real sweet spot, right? And servicing is selling is so fucking important, guys. So fucking important. I was, in teams of account managers, and my MPS, my sales were fantastic, consistent, right? Never missed a sales number in any of my time at Telstra because I understood how to service customers effectively. When you are in the long-term relationship game, which we should be, right? If you're carrying a big sales number, people skills more important than technical skills. And if you've got neither, then you're fucked. And trust me, there are a lot of people. God, this is why one of my biggest irritations in general in tech sales is that there are plenty of fuckwits that are somewhat good with people, but are technically useless. And some of these people have been in the job 20 years because they know how to take a customer out to lunch and get the relationship going. One of the biggest turnovers in the recent years when it came to tech, particularly because tech is evolving so fast, is relative experience, right? Is that there are guys that are, in their 50s now that have a middling understanding of technology that are making $500,000 to $1 million plus just from having good relationship skills. But that doesn't fucking cut it anymore because the technology is getting so complex and it's not just enough to buy a customer lunch. There's so much shit going on in the technological world and so much is reliant on technology working that it's not enough to just be a facade and a smiles and a handshakes guy anymore. You need to be competent. You need to have an understanding of the technology, how it works, why you're valuable, and why. And the turning of house in recent years, I've seen in my last 5 years, is a lot of older people in tech sales who get turfed out or move out of the rat race of sales because they don't keep up with the products, they don't keep up with the pace, and it's extremely hard to keep up with the pace nowadays, mind you. So it's not, it's not necessarily their fault. But experience doesn't necessarily, years in the game does not equate to relevance and practicality in this game anymore. It's not about how many years you've got, it's how many effective years and how many effective things you've done in that limited amount of time, right? I'm outperforming guys that have been doing this for twice as long as I've been selling, right? There are people in my team old enough to be my fucking dad, and I'm outperforming them. Why? Because I understand the systems, the people, the technologies. And a lot of those guys are just handshake jockeys and fucking extended credit cards that buy nice lunches for customers because that's the way that business used to get done. But it's changing. And you need to stay ahead of that curve so you can leverage it for your own benefit and hopefully one day make a fuck ton of money and get a fuck ton of fucking credentials to your name, just like I have right now. Anyway, rant over. This is the episode for this week. If you are loving this, please let me know. If you hate it, please let me know and tell me why. Again, this is about feedback. I'm trying to put this out here as a draft. You're getting a 30 million. I said 30 million. I am now almost close to $40 million in sales as of the end of this financial year. I have to do the math on it. At least 35. I know that for sure. So this just keeps compounding in value for nothing. So please give me the feedback. If you love what I'm doing here, share it with a friend. The website for the Tech Sales Academy will be up by next week. So techsales.academy, keep it bookmarked. I'll let you guys know. If you love what I'm doing here, folks, on the YouTubes, give us a like, share it with someone you like. At Jamil J. Raymond on all the socials. Plug. You know where to find me. Thank you very much for your time and attention, bingers. And I'll see you next week. Ciao for now.